we have worked on our simple random sound generator, and we've worked with attributes, and we worked with objects that have tildes that do sound. Now we're going to work on pitch shifters to continue working with our audio objects. So, in order to work with pitch shifter, let's just move all of this over just a little bit. The first thing that we want to do, and this is probably the quickest way to get coding quickly, or at least get making patches really quickly, is by looking up what these objects do in the help menu. So first we're going to click on N, and we are going to use Gizmo, or at least a feature of Gizmo. We're going to control click, and we're going to open Gizmo in help. And if you notice here, we've got our sound file that you can drag and drop. This is also something that you can use if you want to, because this is a patcher. So we can click it, we can copy it, and just literally paste it into our patcher. But right now, we're only going to use this PFFT tilde object, along with trans ratio and this integer box. But let's just play it and see what it does. So it plays a sound file, and then by clicking this keyboard, it changes the ratio. Okay, well that's actually really fun. We can literally copy any of this. If we wanted to copy this keyboard slider, we can, and sort of learn more about it if you want to do that. But right now, we're just going to focus on pitch shifting, and we're just going to use these three objects. So we just take them, and we copy, and then we paste them. So I've pasted them right here. And then I took it and I doubled it. And then I connected it to a live gain, our SF play tilde object, and our easy DAC. So, like with a lot of patchers, they're mostly cutting and pasting things together that you've either already made, or that exist in the help menu, or that you're building off of. So let's just go ahead and build off what we've already created here and shift its pitch and see what it's doing. So we're just gonna copy all of this and paste it. Just move it on over here. And oops, over a little bit. And just connect it. There we go. And essentially what this does, it'll shift it'll shift the range based on these numerical inputs along with these numerical inputs. So let's just try it and just see what it sounds like. I don't know why it's not playing. Oh, silly. That's because this part wasn't. So it has not cleared or asked to start our sounds. So now what do we got? So essentially it's shifting its pitch twice, at 6 and at 3. So you're creating two separate sounds that are combined to make one. It's silly. Okay. Okay, so as we noticed in the last two examples with our pitch shifter and with our easy sound, random sound generator, we had trouble with our EZDAC, or at least, I don't know if you noticed, but I kept moving this EZDAC object around and detaching it. Like I didn't have two attached at the same time as I do right here. And I'm going to show you why. It's because this object will only play one sound at a time, and it really gets confused, or it just can't parse the signal. It's like you can only have one per patcher. There is ways around this, but we won't get into that in the scope of this workshop. But I'm happy to help you if you are planning on creating many sound objects that are trying to play at the same time, versus something that's sort of like this, that's random and plays one sound at a time, or plays one sound that you can manipulate and shift and change. I'd really suggest going in these directions because it'll just be much easier for you. But again, if you are really, really committed to, doing polysymphonic sounds, we can work with an object called Poly, and I can go into that later. But I'm just going to show you what it does, so when you're troubleshooting, you're like, what is going on? Like, why is it doing this? It's just because this object really can only read one thing at a time. So turn it on. If you notice, I turned this one on, and both of them turned on. Because they are the same, they're literally the same files, it's a little bit easier to manipulate. So they're playing at, obviously, it's playing Washing Machine and it's playing Unmelody. I think it's because it's the same patcher that I've copied and pasted that it's able to play these two separate sounds at the same time. So I think that's the only way that you can get around it. Otherwise, you're going to have lots of weird glitchy things that happen. Just FYI, keep that in mind. I really wish I could explain as to why they're playing actually two separate sounds. And I'm like, miracle. Because normally it just won't do that. Like, for example, let's just pause this. And let's just go back here to the very beginning when we had our initial, our very simple sound player. So let's unlock our patcher and play this. This is all playing. Hey! Somehow they're all playing. This almost never happens. I'm so bummed. I don't even understand how that's even happening. All right. Hey, all right. So, you know what? I guess it is working. So that's cool. Just know that it can get glitchy and it can really affect the way your patcher runs. So just keep an eye out for this EZDAC objects. Oh my god, I'm so excited. Just keep an eye out. Keep an eye out for them, as they can be a little glitchy sometimes. Okay, we're gonna do this whole thing over again. Okay, so we're gonna spend some time right now working on how to record in Max. So this is a quick module that works, except it's unfinished. So we're gonna go ahead and finish it, but we're gonna go over some of these parts first. So in order to record in Max, we're gonna use a buffer object. A buffer object is really great because it stores information for you. So we can record something and it will store in this buffer. The way that it does that is through its name. So buffer tilde is the object, and right afterwards here where it says record intro, it's the name of the space in which we're going to record. So let's close our patcher and just double click this. And this, you see that it goes to 5,000 milliseconds. This is 4,000, so right here is 5,000 milliseconds, which is the second number you see here. So this is the length of which we can put information in. You can set this to whatever you want. I've just set it to 5,000. 2 just stands for the 2 channel. You can put 1 for 1 channel if you want it to be a single channel audio recording. Okay, in order to record in it, we just created a record tilde object, and then we've named it the same thing, record intro, and then the same 2 channels. The easiest way to do that is to just copy paste the object and then just change the name, so you don't have to worry about misspelling this part. We don't need it to be 5,000 inputs, just 2. 5,000 channels. So you get it. And I've connected it to a live gain, and we've got our Easy DAC input, and we're going to connect it to our live gain here so it can hear me. You can see it's already hearing me, and so we're going to record. Okay. Hi, Walter. That's the name of my dog. So we're going to double click buffer, and see, it recorded right there. It's like, hi, Walter. And it drops off in like the mid 4,000 range. It doesn't get all the way to 5 seconds. So it's like 4.5 maybe. Okay. In order to play this back, though, we can't just put it, you can't just connect a buffer to an Easy DAC output. We have to use an object called Groove. What is Groove? Well, let's click on it and let's take a look at it. Groove is a looping device. So that's cool. So if we want to loop and play back our audio recording, we can use Groove. And that's fun because then you can sort of manipulate where it starts and stops. You can also use a play tilde object, which we can go over to. But let's use Groove. And the main part of it we're going to use is sig. So sig will take numbers, numerical information for speed. So this is forward, reverse, and pause. Nice. And we're going to connect this to Groove. So let's unlock our patch. Let's just like copy this section. Why not? Like so, like that. And put this here. Oops. And we're also going to take this, and we're gonna get an Easy DAC output. That's correct. Nope. Again, it's really hard to see. These have a bunch of different outputs, so you just have to be mindful what's going into what. So I'm going to remove this sig because I already have it here. I'm going to move this down and around like this. Bring this up and over. And then we're going to connect our groove here. Channel 2 output here. And okay, we've got our set record. So we've got our groove connected to our live gain and our Easy DAC. So groove is sort of like our SF playback. That is sort of like the information. This is the looping device, so it takes the sound and it loops it, then filters the sound into a gain that then comes out. So this is sort of like the path. We've got a toggle to turn it on and off. We've got this sig tilde, which allows for numerical input. So forward, backwards, and I think this just means on, but let's take a look at it again. So let's forward, reverse, and pause. So let's take that information and put it next to ours, just so that we know what all of this does. This can do the same thing as this, except we'll have control over it, but we won't use this quite yet. And essentially what I have just deleted, I'm just going to recreate for you, which is an attribute. And if we remember from our previous audio sections, attributes can change or include different effects or change the look or change the speed, but it can only turn on when we lock our patcher. So now that we've locked it, now we can sort of mess around with the things that are available here. You can turn on basic tuning. We could lock to transport. I don't know what that actually means, but we can loop the end of it, just the end section or just the start section. We can use a phase shift, phase effect or pitch shifter. Okay, then you have all of these things here. I don't know why I needed to read them all to you. But the thing that we're going to need is we're going to need turn on looping, because this it won't loop unless we have this attribute selected. And I'll show you. So let's go ahead and turn this on, set. It's me saying it, hi Walter. Hi Walter. And it's looping. Hi Walter. If I turn this off. Hi Walter. It will not loop. I'll have to press 0 and then 1 again. Oh, no. In order for that to work, I'd have to actually send a 0 message to Groove. So let's go ahead and do that just so you understand. I wish I knew why. Well, this is just what it needs to clear the information and start over again. Hi, Walter. Hi, Walter. But that's annoying, right? Like, no one wants to do that. So we'll just click on our loop here, move this, and oops, turn this back on. That's reverse. We can just pause it or continue. Hi, Walter. Let's go ahead and add another attribute to this. Hi. Let's add another attribute. So let's unlock our patcher, add another A. Maybe what we can do is just move all of this up. And let's see what else we can sort of mess around with. Let's do turn on time stretching. Time stretching, essentially what that does is it allows for it to stretch out the time. So it's like really lengthens out and kind of slow motions it a bit. So and we've added this integer. I've connected it to signal. So the sig tilde. So we're going to move this around, and that's essentially going to mess with the time stretch, or it's going to stretch the time. So let's go ahead and do that. Oh. No, this is actually doing speed. That's good to know. So essentially that's actually doing your speed. So we don't really want that. Right? We already have that pretty much going. If you wanted to do that, you could, and you can control it this way, and it'll essentially do this for you, but with a larger range, and it'll produce weirder sounds. Or let's see if we can add a numerical value to some kind of time situation. Time stretch mode, basic. Ooh. Okay. Oops, no. No. Let's see if this will take input and see what that does. So now we're just sort of messing around and seeing what everything does. Hi, Walter. Hi. This doesn't really Walter. Do much. So maybe let's try a pitch shift. Hi. That's hilarious. And with Buffer, you don't have to just record into it. You can also have Buffer read files that you have imported. So that can be really, really helpful. And the way that works is, well, let's just click on it and see. It will tell us in the help. So it can read a file that we have, basically have it read specific files. It can open specific files, or it can replace entire files. So that's really helpful. So let's do that. Let's go ahead and create a new buffer object. And you're probably asking, like, why would I do this over, just using a U menu? I think that this is actually better suited and specifically made for sound. So you're going to have better, more consistent playback. But U menu for me has always worked. Like, I've never had issues with U menu. But Buffer is helpful. And Buffer will help you if you are looking to do other kinds, or working with other kinds of objects, like Poly, which can create a bunch of different, it'll essentially create different channels for specific sounds, or whatever sounds that you have assigned. So Buffer is useful, but it's not specifically you don't have to use it in our context. So let's just call this something else. Sound retrieve. Okay. Oh, I guess we should give it. Let's just make it really long. 60,000, but we want it to be 2 channels. So that's cool. And we'll just use a message. Read unclean. .mp3. I think it's an mp3. It might be a WAV file. But here's a file I have. And here is a totally alternate way to upload information, or have Max read your information. So you can click here on the star, and it'll pull up a tab called Collections. We want to create a whole new collection. I've created one in 2020. I have a bunch of different ones for different things, and it essentially knows where all my files are. So we're going to create a new collection. Oh no. Oh, here we go. I don't really need Package Manager. Or you can go to File Browser, and this is probably the easiest way to do it actually, is hover over this, show recently added files, collections, new collection. Okay, and then from here we can just drag and drop whatever information we may have. So we've got our MP3 file that's uploaded, and it's called Zoom 0001. It doesn't, so if it exists somewhere else, it will not accept the file because it already knows that it exists in a different collection or whatever, and you can find it here, or actually here, and you can find wherever it is that you may have placed it, or you can literally search for it. But we can upload our files here, and it'll know exactly where to look. This is a little bit time consuming for Macs, but it's a pretty surefire way to do that as well. So it's not a bad option. So you can drag and drop MP3s, waves, movie files, MP4s, like what have you. Another way to do this is to go to File Preferences. And for this particular project, audio or whatever, you can choose where you want Max to search for sounds, videos, or projects. So that's actually really helpful too. So whenever Max starts up, it'll look for your project in whatever file that you've allocated. So that's pretty rad too. The other thing, the last thing I'm going to note is that you also have plugins here that you can use. These are a little bit trickier to work with, but again, what's really awesome about Max is that, let's say you want to, oh, you know what, let's use Beep. Beep is actually the space in which it's like ready-made objects that have been coded and created. These Max patches have been created that are really intricate, but they have been like manufactured into little modules. So let's say we want to create an effect that's like, I don't know. I don't know. Let's try reverb. That might be actually really helpful. Input. Oops. Let me open up our patch. Input. Right. It's not doing a whole lot. It is kind of, huh? It's sort of adding a bit of an echo. Okay, so you can mess around with these beep modules that will provide you a whole bunch of other options to play with if you wanted to continue to mess around with sound. Again, all of this is, not mandatory. If it's, inspiring or interesting to you, then feel free to go for it.